Joe, it's been a little while.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess a couple of years since we've seen each other, but we've known each other for, I think, just over 10 years. I don't know exactly when we first met, but I think I reached out to you when I was operating a small independent bakery, grocery called Inno Bakery, Inno Foods. At the time, I was running two bakery operations, one in Coquitlam, one in Port Coquitlam. But I've always looked up to you. So I know that right now. Can you tell me a little bit about your company? I know the name of your company is City Avenue Market. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, Jay.
So just I guess tell me a little bit of what you've been up to with your new company, City Avenue.
Yeah, for sure. But circling back to when we met, it's been a while. It's been, I think, at least, what is it, 2023 now? So yeah, about 10 years now, right? Or more. I think it's more.
It could be more. Yes.
I think it's more than 10 years. I remember it's back in 2009, 2010, somewhere around there, I think, or even 2011. Yeah. But yeah, no. City Avenue Market is retail company that we have. It's pretty much your neighborhood market.
Yes.
That sells produce, grocery, meat, and dairy. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. Before we delve into some of our past and our relationship, what is your driving value or your mission statement? I don't want to use the word mission statement. It's because it's used too broadly. But like what motivates you to continue to drive and innovate and be, because customer service is difficult, right? But so what are some of the core values that drive City Avenue?
The biggest thing for me, now this question is, now my mind is processing, what am I really thinking about?
Yes.
I think the biggest thing is the people that we have in our company, staff, team members. What drives me to continue is, I always think, how do I have this job, or how do they keep their job, or how they can sustain their job, and how do they grow? Because my job is always thinking, how do they grow? So how do I grow?
Sure.
So growing them and growing together is the biggest thing, I think, because if they're sustaining their position, sustaining their job, they're leading the team. In that way, it motivates me, because what I do means if they're growing, I'm growing. So it feels great to be doing that.
Amazing.
So if I'm developing a position, developing a role for someone in the company to work, and they're happy about it, it just gives me more energy to continue on.
Amazing.
To develop more of that type of growing.
So I see like most successful entrepreneurs and business people, you're very people focused. Is that true? Would that summarize some of the core values of?
I never think about that. I don't think about it, but when you ask me now that I'm sitting here, yes, I believe so. I really believe that's the main thing that drives me, is people focused. Yeah, it's like we are selling products to people. We are selling a great price to people, to customers. We're trying to bring in good quality, good products, and products that people want, that are niche. But I think the biggest thing is we're selling not a product, we're selling a service, right?
Sure.
And the service it comes from our people, it comes from our staffing within, yeah.
It comes from you, actually. It comes from the top down, right?
Yeah, and if you say that, how do you call it? Like, the team does, it's like, it's a matter of just really working with them and everyone else, but we learn off each other all the time.
Sure.
Because team members bring in new ideas, and how do we acknowledge, their new innovation or their ideas, and how do we grow together? Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just ask you a little bit about your business. How many locations do you have currently?
We have only the 4 at the moment. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 4 is a lot to manage.
It's in that way, But in our minds, I mean, what we're focusing is that we do want to grow a few more locations. That's in our minds. But
Yes.
at the moment, 4 is manageable. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I'm assuming that you have like a corporate office or a head office that provides leadership and management and coaching and organizational skills to your locations as well.
Yes, we do. Recently, a few years ago, we do have a head office or office
Yep.
that does that and
So-
do internal, accounting and whatnot, all that kind of process there. Yeah.
So I love metrics. So how many team members do you have working with you right now?
So
Approximately.
we have about 135 maybe up to today's date. Plus minus 2, 3. Yeah. So.
Oh, amazing, amazing. It's great to see a company growing organically, and those are 130 people, and if you multiply them by households, I mean, you're providing like a great opportunity for hundreds of households, members. That's I think that's true.
Yeah, when you say it this way, I hope to believe that I am doing that, and,
Yeah.
and I want to continue to develop that and make it work out that way. And it just feels great to be able to employ people and to help them build their family, right? So that in that turn, it really makes me feel like grateful. I feel grateful when I do that.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. And you may or may I may be putting you on the spot, but do you know how many transactions you process per week over your 4 locations?
Transactions. Okay, that could be. If I'm not, I mean, the last time I remembered was maybe nearly 3,000.
3,000
Yeah.
transactions per
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, per week. Sorry, that's per day. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry,
3,000 per.
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
extrapolate
yeah,
that.
that's right.
But wow, that's quite amazing.
Right.
3,000
So,
transactions
yeah.
per day.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's and you're providing a great opportunity for people to sustain their lifestyle and their family and their income. But also you're providing thousands of people per day with their daily necessities of food.
Yeah, and this has been my passion, and it's been many years that I've been doing this, and this is what I like doing, and yeah.
Well, you're very good at it, and I hope you can continue to thrive. Serving not only the community but serving your people. And I want to share that. I shared with you over the phone maybe a few weeks ago when we spoke. But yeah, you're a person that I looked up to in business. Actually, you're probably one of my heroes, and I consider a hero that you don't necessarily have access to all the time, like a mentor, because I truly believe that mentors are not really sustainable because everybody's so busy, right? But I really looked up to you, and because I saw your I guess your write up in the BC Business Magazine, and one of the front runners in terms of independent grocery, and then whenever I interacted with your stores, it was always just thriving to so many people, so much activity, and it was so amazing to see. And yeah, it was someone that from afar I looked up to, and I was like, one day I want to be as successful as Gary Joe. That was actually in my head. Did
Wow.
you know that?
No, I did not know that. You're very modest, what you're saying, but I thank you for the compliment, but you're super modest. I had no idea that's how you thought of me, but thank you so much, and I feel yeah, like surprised.
But one of the motivations, and this is neither here nor there, I mean, but you I don't know how, maybe you posted online or somebody made a documentary, but I knew that you bought in a McLaren, right? And it was a supercar, and as a boy growing up, like I love cars too. I love anything that moves fast. And so I was like, one day I'm gonna get a McLaren, and that actually came from you. I don't know if you know. It was just ingrained in my head.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so That I don't know if you knew that story as well.
No, I didn't know this story, but I mean, to tell you a little bit about why I did that was because I got really sick in 2013.
Yeah.
And I was a vegetarian for pretty much 3 years.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to, make a long story short, I didn't know how to eat properly.
Okay.
As being a vegan or vegetarian.
Sure.
So, not enough protein intake. So I got really sick, and somehow I found a way I found a naturopath that kind of helped me with my diet. And as I was getting better in 2014, I go, you know what? I just almost died, right?
Right.
I almost died. I had adrenal fatigue. It's very, 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 very sick. And I said, you know, I asked myself, I almost died here. Because of what, right? So, I mean, life is so short. So I said, okay, I told myself, okay, I'm going to spend my savings on a car. Something I really want.
Sure.
And it was always McLaren. Because I really liked the F1, and that's how I got into it. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I know that would have been a perfect segue into, some of the discussions we're going to have about, because the name of this series or this podcast, whatever you want to call it, interview, is going to be called The Power of Today, right? It's based off of a framework of thinking that I've developed. I authored a book with the same name. But before that, I want this interview, this time that we're spending or investing together, is really to inspire other people. Mm-hmm. The people that want to achieve something, work very hard for their families, provide, want to excel in business, whatever their background. But it's very, I would love to learn a little bit more about your background. Where's your family from? When did you come to Canada?
Yeah, so I was born in 1974, and I came from Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. My family originally came from China.
Yes.
And we call it the Old China.
Okay.
So the Old China is when you look at your backyard of your house, you have a field of greens.
Sure.
So you got your vegetable, you got your yams, you got your potatoes. It's all there. That was what it was. And my mom always says, "Oh, I miss it." Right? When she went back the first time in 2000. Sure. So we immigrated here in 1977. She went back year 1998 or 2000. I forgot which year. She says, "Oh, I hate it now." She misses the old China. She goes, right.
I see.
So yeah. So I was raised here since I was 2.5 years old, and from there in Vancouver, and I remember the first school I went to was Strathcona.
Okay.
Yeah, Strathcona, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting back then because as being that young and going to school there, I still remember I had to walk to school myself.
Yeah.
And whereas other parents or other friends I had, they had parents taking them to school.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was only like maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm like walking to school.
Yes.
And here I am, like years later. I tell my wife that. I tell my friends that. Oh, really? How do you walk to school? Because right now my daughter, I have to drive her to school, or my wife drives her to school.
Yeah, sure.
So if you tell her to walk to school, she may not even know how to get to school. Like it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how old were you when you came to Canada? What was your age?
I was 2.5, 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So 1977. Yeah.
Well, I came to Canada when I was 6 months old.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're very I don't know if this happened to you, but because my household, my parents first came to Canada, and they would speak Korean as their first language. Mm-hmm. So at home, I was exposed to Korean more so than English. And when I went to kindergarten, grade 1, I was an ESL student, but I had been living in Vancouver or Canada for almost all my life. Did that happen to you?
Yeah. How do you call it? When I think back like this, is like how do you call it? Sorry,
It's okay.
Yeah, no. My mind went as I was, after talking about that long, my mind was processing what I was doing back then.
That's good. That's okay.
I was still kind of not dreaming. I was trying to how do you call it? Thinking about back then what I was doing, and then when you were talking, I just went blurred, and I missed what you said. I apologize.
No. Like for me, that's good.
Yeah.
We're having a real conversation.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I'm going back in time because I was like, oh yeah.
So like for me, I went into kindergarten and I could only speak Korean, and so they put me in ESL for 3 years.
Okay, yeah.
Did that happen to you?
Yes. I'm trying to think right now. So I wasn't in ESL I was in ESL in grade 2. Yeah, I started in grade 2, 3.
Yeah, same thing. Like in kindergarten, they didn't care.
Yeah, they didn't care.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
When I was in like grade 2, 3, 4, around that area,
Yeah.
they put me in ESL because I guess my English was not proficient enough.
Right.
So I was like, how could it be that I was almost born in Canada, but I was in this little bubble at home because my parents would speak Korean,
Right.
and I didn't have too much exposure to English until I went to school.
Right.
And then at that time, I guess they realized that my English was poor, so they put me in ESL.
Yeah. So now that you say that, yeah, going back to that, yeah, for sure. For me, it's like this pretty similar because I think at home we don't speak English.
Yeah.
With my mom, especially my mom doesn't know English.
Sure.
So we would speak Chinese, and so I get a lot of that. So we speak a lot of that, and I hear it. It's not like I speak a lot, but I hear it. I hear the mother tongue, right?
Sure.
So then when you speak English, by the time I'm grade 2, grade 3, I'm like, you don't have the right accent. You're not speaking well.
Right.
Well, I'm not speaking well.
Sure.
So then I've been put into ESL for up to grade 4, even 5 probably, if I'm not mistaken.
That's so weird because
I think it's 2, 3, 4, but probably not 5. I'm just trying to recall back, like the timeline. It's kind of difficult to remember exactly. So I think it's 2, 3, 4. I think. Yeah.
I think that's almost exactly what I went through. I remember 3 years, something like that. But I'm curious because, I'm more interested not in the super like, hey, we've succeeded, we're making millions of dollars in revenue, this is our EBITDA this year, and I'm buying this car or what. That's all great. I think that's a byproduct of good leadership and a great entrepreneur. I want to hear some of the struggles. For you, we talked about your sickness and almost dying, and that you had that aha moment and said, I'm gonna pour my life savings and buy a car, something that I can enjoy, right? Because tomorrow's not guaranteed. But personally, what are some of the what's one of the biggest hurdles that you've gone through? Maybe it's your sickness. I don't know.
My hurdles. So I think sickness would be the biggest hurdle I've ever been through because it was one of my darkest time.
Sure.
It was like adrenal fatigue. I was physically, mentally not unstable, right? So, but I think besides that, the other challenges personally I have is finding time to be with my family.
Sure.
Yeah, finding time with my family is. I mean, it's easy to say, oh yeah, you can make time. I get it, you can make time, but for myself. With our business, I'm still struggling with work, meaning I'm always at work a lot. Yeah, so I'm constantly at work, and I almost every other day, another team member of ours, we'd be talking to each other, and we'd be like, oh yeah, we can never finish our job. We can't finish our job today.
Yeah.
There's just so much work.
So much.
It's endless, and then we're working all the way to 9 p.m., 10 p.m.
Right.
Just like last night, like we worked till like 9:30, yeah. So I think that's my biggest struggle. I don't know how to. I haven't found a way to prioritize my time.
Sure.
And finish that later. I'll just go ahead and just try to finish what as much as I can in that night or that day.
I don't want to skip. I want to dwell a little bit more into the time when you had your sickness. Can you remember some of the doubts that you had, some of the fears that you had, some of the things that you were like struggling with during that period of time?
Oh yes. Adrenal fatigue was I'm not sure if you're aware of adrenal fatigue
Not
and
too
how,
much.
how
Yeah.
serious that is.
Tell me.
So,
Yeah.
so adrenal fatigue causes hormone dysfunction. So
Okay.
you cannot, the body is not able to process or produce enough cortisol hormones.
Sure.
Hence, you can't produce serotonin.
Okay.
So I can't sleep.
Yeah.
So you can't sleep. Well, I was on sleeping pills for some time.
Yeah.
I was on depression pills for a little bit, and it was really hard to get off. So without the sleeping pill, I wasn't able to sleep. So pretty much, I didn't sleep for close to 13 days.
Wow.
I didn't sleep like not even an hour, like 13 days.
That
So-
must be torture.
That was torture. I pretty much went, there's words crazy.
Yeah.
So pretty much I went to that extreme. And it was, the fear I had at that moment was death, was
Mhm.
number one, and fear of judgment, any kind of fear, like all fears came to my mind.
Wow.
I was delusional, I was, I wasn't thinking right.
Right.
I wasn't thinking right. It took a while to heal, and I finally, that was 2013, August, September.
Sure.
And at that moment was the hardest time because my father-in-law passed away October 31st of 2013.
Wow.
And during, I was
Right in the thick of it, right?
in the thick of all that,
Yeah.
right? So that added on top, and it was just very, very dark time for me. And until I threw everything away in the garbage one day. I remember the date was November the 4th. I remember that day, November the 4th, 2013. I just dumped everything in the garbage. I go, I don't want any of this medicine.
Wow.
So I'm like, without it, I couldn't sleep, and that's how I didn't sleep for 13 days. 'Cause
Why?
I dumped everything.
Right. Right.
And and then slowly, I started sleeping like an hour at a time, and by January, February of 2014, a couple months later, I was googling up a naturopath that could help me with my adrenal fatigue.
Sure.
And I found this doctor or a naturopath in USA,
Mm.
in the States, and we started talking on the phone, and I asked him one question. I said, on the phone, we made an appointment on the phone, and I asked him, can I be healed?
Yeah.
Is this irreversible, this disease I have now, right? Adrenal fatigue. And he goes, no problem, you can be back to where you want to be. I'm like, oh really? So when hearing that gave me hope. So I think when you know there's hope, that helps with everything else.
And hope is so important.
Yeah, hope is like, if you have no hope, then we can't get to where we want to. But when there's hope, that gives energy to ourselves.
Right.
I think that's what's keeping me going, right? With the hope. With that one answer, oh yes you can, or not, with that phrase like you can heal yourself. With that positive answer, yeah.
This is just a personal question. When you were talking with the naturopath in the States, did they ask you to take a test for your gene methylation profile?
So I took a few things.
Yeah.
I took a hormone test,
Uh-huh.
and I took a other test, like for my for a what is it, heavy metal test. I
Okay.
took quite a few, 3 to 4 different tests,
Okay.
and the hormone test especially, that came back very like flatline. Meaning
Yeah.
I wasn't producing any kind of hormones,
Sure.
any kind of cortisol hormones at the moment, and it was so simple that he prescribed me some. It's basically just like
Couple supplements, right?
just supplements.
Yeah.
It's basically supplements and just a lot of chicken soup.
Yeah.
And that was it. And after like even 2 weeks of that, I started feeling, I was making sense.
Right.
My mind was making sense, and I feel like I had a little bit of energy back. And then as the weeks and months go by, then I realized that, oh wow, it's pretty much, it's just supplements. It's our diet.
Yeah.
It's our diet. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been lately because about 3.5 years ago, I got my first round of gout. And I don't know if you know anybody with gout or experienced it yourself. It's one of the most painful experiences that you can go through. And I visited doctors, and they prescribed me medicine that kind of holds the gout at bay. But that medicine is so toxic that it erodes joints like knees and hips and whatnot. So usual people on this medicine for 6 years, they need to get like a new knee or something like that. And I was like, this has to be reversible. But all the doctors said it was not reversible. You just have to live with it for the rest of your life. And then about 3 months ago, I came across Gary Brecka, who's now a part of 10X Health with the name is escaping me, but I saw an interview with Grant Cardone and Dana White and their health transformations. And I just started a few of these supplements and introducing into my body, like starting with D3s or EAAs or whatever. And my gout's reversing.
Oh, wow. Okay, amazing.
Yeah, I can put pressure, I can exercise, which I haven't been able to do in 3 years. So I truly believe that you put into the body what it's missing, and your body responds positively almost overnight. I mean, I saw a change within like 2-3 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
That's
I
amazing.
think offline we should talk more about
For sure,
for
yeah,
health
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and supplements and methylation and whatnot. That's another topic for another
Yeah.
day. But maybe, is there something in your business, maybe like personally, that must have been such a dark time, and I'm so glad that you came out of that and we're talking today.
Yeah.
But like in business, maybe you had some fears or doubts, maybe you weren't gonna make it, or something that you have to go through. So I know people go through things personally and things in their business, and a lot of times for entrepreneurs, they're like they're somewhat attached. But any struggles that you've been through in your business that you just were very hard times for you?
Hard times. I can't really think. I mean, there's always struggles every day. I can't really think of a specific struggle that I got into in our business, but I think there's always struggles like every day.
Sure.
Like they're like struggles here, struggles there, but there's something where we can resolve it. If not today, a week. If not a week, it'll be 2-3 months. Usually renovations or whatever, those are challenges, right? They take time or whatever, but I can't recall any kind of really big struggles in our business in that way.
I see.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing that now's another struggle. Okay, now I can think of one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used to be called Donald's Market.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's one thing. I'm not sure you were, but Donald's Market, we had the 4 locations, but the struggle was the separation, right? So the separation meaning, it's a challenge to rebuild 3 locations, because my brother Donald, it was called Donald's Market.
Sure,
So we had
yeah.
4 location. So he we had a separation. Him and his sons took over the Hastings,
Which is, I think, your original
the
location.
original, the very first. Yeah. When our family is working together with that one, but the other 3 locations also was called Donald's Market.
Yes,
The
it was. I
separating-
remember.
Yeah, so we called it City Avenue Market.
Yeah.
And rebranding those ones was a challenge. Those were another struggle challenge. Like rebranding it, marketing it, like restructuring management, leadership was a challenge. Was a lot of work for sure.
In terms of time for you, in terms of this framework of time, we've already touched upon it with your kind of when you got sick, and then you had that moment and you threw away all the stupid pills, and then you got sick and tired of just being sick, right? And then after you took some action and you healed yourself, and then you said, what am I doing with all this money? It's not bringing me any satisfaction. You bought a car and stuff like that. But why don't you share your kind of frameworks or stories or a little bit color on how you treat time?
How I treat time. I mean, for myself, I took some personal growth work back in what is it, 2014, 15, and 16.
Sure.
And some of these personal growth work did help me a lot, and to you take a lot away from fear of judgment that I have and that I used to have, and I still do, and a few other things that I had that I thought that I didn't like myself of, right? Like a lot of things I look at myself and hey, But for time wise, talking about that, for the time that I used for work and then after work, I think I have a lot of how do you call it? I'm just trying to think what when you ask this question. I'm always thinking like, what do I do when I'm off time?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm off work, when I'm done with all that, all this, what am I doing? I ask myself, what am I doing? Like, why am I always working like this? I ask myself a lot of times, but and then inside myself reaches out saying, you know what, this is what I'm made to do. So, when you ask this question, I don't think whatever I'm doing, like the time I spend at work, whatever I'm doing to build the business, I really enjoy it. So with anything else, I don't regret anything that I do with that. So for sure, yeah.
Well, I want to take this time to thank you, because it just came to my mind, because you didn't have to come today and meet me, and you didn't have to spend this time together, but I really wanted to tell you that I'm really appreciative that you took a moment out of your busy day to come and spend some time with me. So I just wanted to extend that.
It's my pleasure. I mean, you gave me a call and you said, hey, you know what, yeah, you have this, and it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. So
the next letter is O, that stands for opportunity. Is it because I feel that we need to have an openness to opportunity, because sometimes we get invited to, let's go down and let's meet this person, and they're but I feel that those invitations and opportunities all around us, but a lot of people are closed to opportunity. They don't say yes. They're not curious. So for you in your life, how do you treat opportunity, or can you share anything that kind of really changed? You met somebody and changed your life, or
You could say this is funny in my. I would say like not funny, but I think with this opportunity, it's one of my weaknesses.
Oh, I see.
Because why I say that is because sometimes I say yes too often.
Oh.
so those are open opportunities. I don't think of it as an open opportunity, but I say yes a lot of times. So by the time I say yes and I meet somewhere, I go to an event or anything that's open in front of me. I mean maybe 5 out of 10 times opportunities come up broad, or maybe less. But I say yes too often where some of my time is used up in that way.
Okay.
Right? Which is not that I regret it, but that's one of my weaknesses.
Oh, I see.
That's how I look at it. But maybe for certain people that I know, there's some people out there that tell me, "No, that's I love doing that. They love doing that, right?" So.
Yeah, for me, a lot of people say no, and I'm saying, okay, there's a risk of saying yes too much, and then you waste a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you meet somebody who's amazing that can answer your question, or has a solution to your problem, or maybe you get an opportunity that you would never have had if you said no. So my philosophy is, okay, I could say yes and be open to opportunity and waste some time or some effort. Nothing pans out. Or I can say no on a consistent basis and never have any of those opportunities be open to me. Which would I rather have? And so for me, like I'm so happy you said yes to this interview, because I believe it's an opportunity for us to spend some quality time together. Second, it's ours to make some beautiful art together that maybe somebody online who never met us or never could meet us maybe gets inspired to do something great, you know. So I think that's the power of yes, especially as it pertains to opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for
Oh
sharing.
yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with you.
So
Yeah.
D stands for development. So this is development of relationships, development personally in business. What do you think? What do you do to on a daily basis to keep your knife sharp? You know, to be constantly growing. You know, as a person, as a business person. Is there anything that you do that's special to you?
Good question. I don't know what I do to keep going. What I just personally do is, I constantly, I'm always working with team members. We're always trying to solve issues.
Sure.
That's always something that I'm doing. And of course, how do I continue to do what I'm doing, but not to, you know, not to stress myself out. That's the biggest thing, I think.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So
That's great. That's great. I think this is the A stands for assessment, the lost art of thinking, I believe. So, is there anything that do you take time to really reflect during the day? Maybe it's during the time of meditation or time over coffee. You know, I really believe that thinking and stop, like people run on this, like, what do you call it, program, and they drive to a certain street and they always turn right, or they go to their coffee stop and they always order the same thing, and there's very little spontaneity and there's very little input in terms of like, hey, this is my art, this is my creation. People don't spend enough time thinking. What do you do in terms of how do you assess some problems and create some solutions? Like what are some of your tools that you deploy?
to be frank with you, I don't do enough of I don't do enough of that. I'm that kind of guy that I just keep on turning right. I keep on turning right. I keep on going to the same Starbucks.
Yeah.
It's a routine.
Yeah.
I don't do enough of it. I really don't. And I know I should be.
Yeah.
It's very important, and I do believe that it's very important to reflect on your day's work, reflect on, the past week, what are my goals, did I accomplish them, and whatnot, and what other goals have I gotta reach that I should accomplish,
Sure.
in what time. I don't do enough of that,
Okay.
but I am just that guy. Turn right, turn right.
Well, you know what? Today's we have one more letter left, but through our conversation, I want people I don't want to try to impress anybody. I'm talking to people that you can achieve, you can succeed. We're all damaged goods. We're all screwed up in a little bit, I want to inspire. We all could be doing something better, and that's we're taking some time, talking about that, but also letting other people know that we don't have it all together, as well. The last one is yield, and basically the concept is before the sun goes down, produce something, right, of value, ship something, make sure that you've done something to impact the world tangibly, whether it's in your work or it could be as simple as giving your loved ones a hug and telling them I love you. It's very easy to do, and it has some immense value and impact, but we don't do it enough, right? So make sure that before the sun goes down to do that. But yield has two meanings. It also means to serve, to give up, right? And so as we live, it's not just good enough for us to serve self-serving motives. What have we done for our team? What have we done for our kids? What have we done in our community? So how have we given back to something greater than just ourselves, right? And so in terms of the last letter, yield, how is it showing up in your life for you?
For myself, I think the biggest thing that for yield is staff-wise. I think our team members. I think I honestly did. I feel like that they have I do a lot for staff, like meaning I'm not sure, like we don't talk about this.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
go ask a team member, hey, you know what, I did all this for you, or
Yeah.
no, nothing like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I know deep inside, I do it automatically, and there's a lot of things I do it, and I know they've got something.
I see.
Meaning not tangible, but something just as simple as I'll remember that this particular team member needs to have his hand towel, whatever, on her desk.
Right.
That kind of thing, small little things, and doing all these remembering the detailed stuff about each team member, does make a difference.
I see.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what that part is. Yeah, of heal for me.
Yeah, no, that's very, that's very serving and very thoughtful, for your team and for your loved ones. But how about in terms of like one KPI or one metric, like I have to do this. I gotta make before the end of the day. I need to do this. I need to be on top of this one metric. Is there one metric that you always ship per day? Phone calls? Is it like touching base with your management team, or is there anything that you do?
So it's always my own work.
Yeah.
My own work. I do that at the very last point. I have to finish before I go. During the day, it's mostly I'm serving other people.
Sure.
Like I'm working. Put it this way, you may say that I own my business and I'm working for myself, but in that way is true. But in another way, I'm actually serving others. I'm working for the rest of my team,
right,
our company. So I do all that during the whole morning, day, up till like the evening. That's when I have to get my own work done.
Right.
I have to finish my emails up. I have to finish. Nowadays, emails are quite a bit.
Yeah. Too much.
Text, emails, and whatnot. So all that work has to be done. So I have to finish that before I go. Yeah.
Amazing.
So
I want to kind of end our discussion with, I really want to highlight, stories. Growing up, I didn't have too many heroes that looked like me. Growing up as a minority in this country of mine, and I really, not that it's specific to only Asians, but we get it in our culture because we're from China or Korea, super hyper competitive, and that culture of you're not good enough, you have to study, you have to get A's, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, those standards that are passed down. But I want through this podcast, I want to give other people that share similar cultures to us, like, hey, we didn't have a straight path.
No.
We went all over the place, but we still somehow turned out okay. And if anybody just gets that, is there anybody else's story that you think that, whether they live here locally or anywhere around the world, that, this person would really inspire, the people that we're trying to reach?
The funny thing is, my mom always says, "Oh, you should be a doctor."
Yeah.
When I was young, growing up, and that was in my mind. But of course, being in school, I would fancy other careers like firefighter, right?
Sure.
Well, then when you grow up a bit more, you're like, well, these guys, you gotta be hot. You gotta have the right size to be a firefighter, and all that kind of mix. So that doesn't work out well, right? But being a doctor was one thing. My mom said, "Be a doctor." I'm like, you know how it is. Right?
Sure.
So that never did well. So for sure. And then as I grew a little bit older, then that kind of dream of doctor is down the drain. I'm doing this job as retail, and what kind of, I would look at people that are in the same retail, people that are in the same kind of business. I would look at, Jimmy Patterson is one great example. He was always someone I would look up to, right? And how he did it, and he's a he's a true entrepreneur, right?
Yes,
And I think all of us, people in my industry, would knows him, and that look up to him, and
Sure.
he would be the guy that we would be looking up to be. Yeah.
He's definitely a hero of mine
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So that means you have to help me book a interview with Jimmy Patterson.
I don't know how I can do that, but let's see what we can do.
Well, I always appreciate our friendship,
Yeah.
and once again, I'm so grateful for your time, and I know that we have, only time is very, very limited
Yeah.
for us, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me and
Yes.
for having me today, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.